speaker to an event in the Congress of the Province of Buenos Aires. It was titled Application of National Technologies to Inclusion, and it was mainly focused on people with disability. NGOs and universities were invited to showcase their innovations. The main objective of this event was to share information about the new technologies that improve the life of people with disability. And there were a lot of people with disability attending the occasion. But unfortunately, there was no agenda providing Braille for making the information accessible for the blind people. There was no subtitle on the official video or even a sign language interpreter for the needs of the deaf community. There was a speaker, a wheelchair user. He was sitting in a corner far away from the audience because the main hall of the Congress is not disabled friendly. The image on the screen says, in case of fire, use the stairs. And there's a wheelchair user falling down. For sure, you have seen this image in a lot of places, but perhaps you never thought about this situation. That's why it's so important to talk about accessibility. Accessibility is much more than an adjective that means able to get, reach, afford, or understand. Accessibility is a matter of safety. Accessibility is a right, should not be a privilege. In Latin America, there are 85 million people with disability. They suffer exclusion, unequal access to opportunity, and invisibility due to the barriers that they face every day, barriers that we build. For a physically disabled person, the biggest barrier that they face every day is access to public spaces, such as hospitals, governmental offices, schools, or workplaces, where the transportation, road, ramp, parking, toilets are non-accessible. Nowadays, everything happens online. We are more connected than ever. We use internet as a first source of information, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. But the reality is that the 90% of the content available on internet is not accessible for blind people, visually impaired, and the deaf community. This means that a blind person cannot access to relevant information such as governmental information, job opportunities, online platform learnings, or day-to-day things like managing a bank account, doing shopping, or reading the newspaper. In my region, one of the barriers that the blind people face every day is access to affordable technology, even to Braille material. Let me share with you the story of one of our beneficiaries. Kevin is a 7-year-old kid. He was born partially sighted. This year, he was attending the 2nd grade at school. A few months ago, he became fully blind. The principal of the school called Kevin's mother and told her that he cannot continue attending classes because they cannot cover the kid's needs. So Kevin not only lost her vision, think about the negative impact, psychologically, emotionally. Do you know where is Kevin now? Kevin is sitting at home, isolated. But Kevin is not the only one. According to the last report of the World Bank, only the 20% of the kids in Latin America attend schools. And without education, it's pretty hard to get a job. In my region, the 90% of the adults with disability are out of the workforce. They're unemployed. If you don't have a job, you cannot access to health insurance. So now imagine being a person with disability without health insurance. So accessibility is a matter of human rights. Access to education, access to information. It's about dignity. It's about independence. Less productivity means more dependent on the government. And the problem is that in Latin America, in the most of the countries of Latin America, we do have laws that promote accessibility. Laws which are in line with the international standards. But the problem is that they are not properly implemented by the government. For the last 10 years, I have been working in promotion and protection of human rights. 3 years ago, together with Sebastián Flores, a partially sighted person from Ecuador, we started Fundación Comparlante, a non-profit organization that promotes the inclusion and development of people with disability. Showing the words compartir and parlante, share and talk, we advocate for the rights of this marginalized group. Nowadays, we are 10 young leaders from 7 different countries with the same dream, to achieve a world with equal opportunities for all. To do so, Comparlante work is mainly focused on 3 pillars: web accessibility, art, and entrepreneurship. Last year, we developed our first program under the art pillar. It was a literary contest for kids between 6 years old and 13. It was an awareness campaign. It was called My World, My Way. We promote the capabilities of people with disabilities. Imagine if you tell to an adult, the stereotype that you are promoting is wrong. That could be rude. But what if the same conversation is introduced by the kids at home? That was the huge impact of this campaign. We worked with children at school, with the families. The whole community was involved. And it was an amazing experience. Today, I want to present you accessible art. It's also an awareness campaign, but in this case, we want to sensitize the decision makers, those who have the power to implement the laws in our countries. We use art as an alternative approach. We want to put them in the shoes of those who suffer discrimination every day. We are using reverse psychology, using photography, sculpture, audiovisual, and installation. We want to them feel how people with disability feel. We want to foster empathy. We want to make them aware about the importance of accessibility to improve the life of people with disability. We are launching this campaign, the pilot project, next year in 3 main locations: the National Congress of Argentina in Buenos Aires, the National Assembly of Ecuador in Quito, and in the headquarters of the Organization of American States in Washington, D.C. We expect to impact in more than 500 high-level authorities. To measure the impact of this campaign, we are follow up these high-level authorities during 3 years, their actions and their speeches. If they promote an existing law, or if they promote a new law, how they vote on issues related to people with disability, and also we will monitor if there are any improvement on public spaces, such as schools, hospitals, transportation, and governmental offices. Accessibility is needed for some, but it's useful for all. Sooner or later, we will all need accessible environments. Only the 60% of the people with disability born disabled. Most of them became disabled after a disease or an accident, like the vice president of my country, Argentina, or the president of Ecuador. We are all temporarily able. Picture yourself when you are old. But the good news is that we can overcome all these barriers together. Now, please let me ask you, where is accessibility? Accessibility is in our hands. We can make a sign, we can post an accessible tweet, we can push actions and projects being aware of disability. We can vote. We can build a better world for all. Thank you very much.